like to call to order the regular school committee meeting for March 2nd, 2026. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence. Please be seated. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting will be live streamed for cable. A recording of this meeting will also be posted on the West Bridgewater Community Access Media website, wb-cam.org. Okay, in respect to everyone's time here tonight, I would like to request a motion that we reorder our agenda. We're supposed to be in the budget hearing at the moment, but I would request that we move the recognitions for National History Day up, and then we will adjourn the regular meeting and move into the budget hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to change the order of the meeting to put the NHD at the top of the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
All right.
National History Day.
Good evening. My name is Mr. Despierre, 7th grade social studies teacher here at the Middle Senior High School. Pleasure to be here with you tonight. I'm here to recognize numerous 7th graders for a job well done on this year's NHD National History Day project. NHD's project-based learning that is sponsored by the Massachusetts Historical Society. There is a local competition here at West Bridgewater Middle Senior High School, a regional competition, which is the next level, a state competition, and a national competition involved with this project. The students that are here tonight all did an amazing job on these projects. These kids' projects rose above all the rest. We have numerous groups here that are winners that are going to move on to represent West Bridgewater Middle Senior High School on Sunday, March 15th at Foxborough High School for the regional level of this competition. And we have another group, due to a scheduling conflict, they're going to be attending the regional competition this Saturday, the 7th, at Stoneham High School. We also have 4 groups that are receiving an honorable mention for producing awesome work as well. A few of these honorable mention groups are going to be filling in and attending the regional competition due to scheduling conflicts with other groups. So, with that being said, first up, we have Jackson Pongonis. He did an individual exhibit on the Battle of Gettysburg. Come on up, Jackson.
There you go.
All right, so this next group, it was the history of the electrical guitar. It was a group exhibit. We have Giovanni Toscas. Come on up, Gio.
Excellent job, bud. There you go.
And we have Lincoln Milligan, who could not be president, who could not be present today due to illness.
Be nice, President. Okay.
Next, we have individual exhibit, Mae Jameson by Dahlia Ikaza. Come on up.
Excellent job.
All right, next up, I don't believe these ladies are here. They did a project on Barbie and how Barbie has kind of changed throughout the years and the influence it has had on kids alike. Gabriella Miranda, I do not believe she's present. Addison King. And McKenna Buckley. So excellent job by them, even though they couldn't join us today. They did a fine job on this. An individual exhibit, we have the Salem Witch Trials, Ryan O'Keefe. Congratulations. There you go. All right, another excellent project. We have Egypt, Inventions of Ancient Egypt. We have first up Jacob Ayad. Come on up, Jacob. Excellent job, bud.
Thank you.
There you go. Jazz Age, Maria Karras. You're beating me to the punch here. You're beating me to the punch. You know what, I have to go back too. I just realized I left you out, bud. Don't worry, we're not gonna forget about you. Backing up a little bit here, little back step. Also part of the group on inventions in ancient Egypt, we have Colin Haroots. Come on up. Sorry about that, bud. Excellent job. There you go. Okay, and then finally, we have one last group here. We have, for this one, How Protective Gear Revolutionized Football Group Exhibit. Great job. Chase Disjardin, who couldn't be with us tonight, but was part of that group. Second up, part of the group, we have Landon Gill. I don't believe Landon could be with us either. And representing the group, Ethan Luce. There you go, bud. No, I know. Was there a picture for?
Yeah, I think it was a slide or two back.
Okay, can we back it up one slide? Nope. There we go. Okay. Prohibition. Excellent job on this project by the ladies. So first up, we have Abigail Knight. Excellent job, Abby. Next up, Cecilia Farrell. Next up. And Sadie Source. Okay, excellent. I believe that's it. Did I leave anybody out in the audience here? I think we are good.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Despy, I want to thank you and all the teachers. As a former 7th grade social studies teacher, I'm so impressed with everything that you're doing. And thank you for representing West Bridgewater as you move on in the competition. Great job. And thank you to all the families as well for coming tonight.
Good luck in the next round. Wherever you want us. Where do you want us, Mrs. Page? Wherever you go. Okay.
Smile, everybody. Congratulations.
Anytime.
Okay, congratulations to you all. Good luck on the next stage. Is there a motion to adjourn the regular school committee meeting?
Move to adjourn the regular school committee meeting.
A second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right. Wait for everybody to migrate.
Your old backyard.
Okay, you guys ready? All right, I would like to call to order the fiscal year 27 budget hearing. I'm going to pass it right over to Mr. Bodwell and Mrs. Grant.
All right, thank you very much. Before I start, I wanted to put this in here somewhere. I just, as we all survived the blizzard of 26, I just want to just have a shout out to our DPW and our school staff that helped clear snow. We did have a couple of extra days extending our February break, but we were able to get back in on Thursday and Friday. And I appreciate everyone's hard work and efforts. And I also appreciate the patience and the consideration of our families, our students, and our staff. I know some of our seniors would have loved to stay out a little bit longer, but we wanted to get them back in if it was safe. So thank you to all involved to get us back into school safely.
And actually, Mr. Bodwell, before you start, I know we have two members who have not participated in a budget hearing in the past, so I just wanted to kind of go over the order of things. So Mr. Bodwell and Mrs. Grant will go over and we can ask questions, stop them at any time. And then afterwards, we'll have public comment where members of the public are welcome to comment or ask questions on the budget.
Okay, thank you.
If we have thoughts one way or another, do we share them then as to numbers being changed, or does that happen on next week?
So share them now. We don't have to vote tonight.
Okay.
We can make adjustments and vote in a week.
Okay.
So, but definitely share them now.
Yeah, just to warn everybody, I'm gonna have a ton of questions. It's not like, it's not that I think I'm doing a bad job or anything, it's just the way my brain works. If you put a number in front of me and I don't understand it, we're gonna talk about it until I'm blue in the face. So just fair warning to everybody here.
I appreciate that.
So we do a presentation, and then we will go through each line, cost center of the budget. So I just want to start with some of the positive effects of staff we've added over the past few years. I think we've been supported by the town and certainly by the school committee to add positions. Starting with our sub-separate programs at the 3 elementary schools who have addressed the needs of students so we could keep them in the least restrictive environment and keep them in district. There is a cost savings when we have these programs. We're not setting students out and for tuition and also for transportation. And we still have the hope for future students enrolling through West Bridgewater into our district, through our district placements. Related services, we have incrementally added to our related services, OT, PT, speech over the years. Our multilingual learner staff, we've gone from, when I started at 1.5 staff members up to 4 staff. They're spread around the 4 different schools. And we've added some mental health counselors and at both the middle senior high school level and at the elementary level. One of the areas that we always talk about are school contributions. So basically what school contributions are, that's the amount of money that we're putting into our budget so the town doesn't have to. And they'll be detailed a little bit more later. This year we're just over $3 million in school contributions, broken up into a couple different areas. School choice, our circuit breaker, which is the funding in special education for once we go over a certain threshold of money per student. We have our revolving accounts, our surround care, our athletic revolving, and then special education grants fall into a 4th category. So on the left, you'll see how it's broken up, and then on the right, you'll see where we are compared to past years. So it's significantly over $366,000 more than last year. School choice, yes, I just spoke of, makes up $1.2 million of our funding under school contributions. We're keeping the same budgeted number of students in school choice, 230, which we budgeted last year. We currently are enrolling 228 students. We feel confident we can get to that number, but there are a couple of caveats to that, and I'll explain that a little bit later. The interest is still very high. As of today, we had over 215 applicants, grades K to 12, interested in coming to West Bridgewater. So it is a concern that as the number of West Bridgewater students come into our system through residing in West Bridgewater, that number will go down. It's interesting to share that when the Chapter 70 information came out, they detailed that 75% of the districts in the state are losing enrollment. And West Bridgewater is one of the 25% that's gaining enrollment. We gained almost 1%. And then when I drilled down a little bit deeper, I looked at the South Shore, South Coast region, and it's about 90% of the districts were losing enrollment. So we're not gaining at a rapid rate, but we're also not losing, and we are showing some gains. So again, that's going to have an effect on school choice. This chart will show how school choice has decreased a little over 300,000 over the past 6 years. We are anticipating going down next year due to increased enrollment and the number of choice spots that are available, but it's slowly going down, and we've adjusted this chart every year. Special education in every district is a big part of a school budget. Approximately year over year, 1% or just a little bit more than 1% of our students are in out-of-district placement, which equates to about 13% of the overall budget. Using kind of round or generalized numbers and talking about special education director, that our transportation ranges from 30,000 to 100,000 per student, depending on their placement. And we group students into different categories for tuition. Our public school programs, our collaborative programs like North River and Reed's Collaborative, and then our non-public private schools, and those include residential schools that we send students to. And we are responsible for educating students until they are 22 years old. So some of our major concerns that we have is school choice. Although we're budgeting for 230, this is a little bit different year for us because the vocational schools and agricultural schools have moved to a lottery system. So they do their lottery on March 13th. We are unsure of the number of students that will be selected. We've averaged around 20 students per year going to Southeastern. We could hit that number on the nose, or we could be higher, or we could be lower. So there could be some potential if they only accept, say, 10 students. That means we will only backfill those 10 spots. It could be more. They have, in talking to our guidance counselors, they have run some scenarios, and West Bridgewater has remained pretty consistent to where we were in the past, but again, it is an unknown for us. There's always the potential for our district placements that we are unaware of. Less likely for in-district now if we're not budgeting for it, but that could happen. Or we could have move-ins that negatively affect the budget in terms of placements. There is potential for a reduction or loss of federal grants or federal funding. Haven't heard as much about it, but again, it is a potential. And we have 3 aging elementary schools that are 60 or more years old. And we also have a middle senior high school that's going into next year, the 12th year. 142,000 square foot building has needs as well. So buildings are always somewhat of an unknown, although we do put money into a budget. So some of the places we're looking to add this year, I think it's important to note that we did not add any new positions in last year's budget. And there are some budget dollar amounts with that. So we are looking to bring back the middle senior high school media specialist. It would be a person that would be housed at the middle senior high school, but it really would be a resource K-12 for students and staff. 0.5 floating nurse, although some of our greatest need right now is at the Roselle McDonald. We'll have a number of diabetic students that require a high level of service, a high level of need. So we would have someone that could float 2 different buildings, but a lot of time would be spent at Roselle. Related service, we're looking to continue to add to our related service. Again, important to meet the needs and the IEPs of our students in district, so we're providing them with the services. Right now, we have 1 reading specialist, K-12, it's at the Roselle McDonald. We're looking to add a 0.6 reading specialist to the Howard School, but out of the general fund would only be 0.4. We're looking to supplement 0.2 of it through Title I, so they will service students that are Title I for that period of time. Basically, it's 3 days a week, and ideally, we'd like to get that to full time. Due to the needs in the district, adding an elementary instructional assistant. Right now, we have 30.5. We're looking to go to 31.5. All but our kindergarten instructional assistants are special education for inclusion or one-to-one or work in the sub-separate program. And our numbers at the Middle Senior High School for music, course selections have come out. We anticipated them being high, and they are. Right now, we have, the person is at a 0.5, we're looking to go to 0.7. So this shows where we're at in terms of our budget numbers, our overall operating budget to educate the students in West Bridgewater is just 22.5 million. You minus out the school contributions of $3,039,475, and you get what we're asking the town for an appropriation in this projected budget, which minus out, so that's an increase of $916,949, which is a 4.93% increase. And this just shows where we are over the past 4 years. We have worked hard to decrease our budget while still meeting the needs of our students and staff in the district. So it's been very important to us. I promised a fairly short presentation for years past, but I know we'll spend a lot of time going through the budget lines, so.
Can I ask a question about the no added staff?
Yes,
I have the budget from last year that Kathy and you provided me in our last meeting, and the FTE number is 185.75. The FTE number on this one is 190.25. So that's a difference of 4 and
Yeah, there was
change.
an error on the schedule that you're looking at from 26, when the school committee added back the specialist, and that was line, category 3230, teaching services.
Yeah.
After our first school committee meeting, we had decreased the specialists for kindergarten.
Okay.
And then the school committee added back a $62,000 position, and I did not update that schedule.
Okay,
It
so
should
that's,
be 80, it should be 84.2 last year on the teaching service line.
so I'm just confused with the overall FTE. So even if we add 1 there, that's 186.75. That's still a difference of 3. And it looks like, I thought we were only adding like 1.7 this year.
I'm looking at the points here.
So if I'm just going off the budget you guys gave me last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we last
We're
met.
adding 3.7 this
So it
year.
looks like 3.7.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Does
how
that
did,
number automatically?
how did that
populate,
happen?
uh,
Because
No, it
also
does
when we met,
not.
we were talking about adding like 1.7.
1.7. No, we were always up at the 3.
I thought wasn't the IA somebody who was retiring, so it wasn't really a position ad? Am I misremembering that?
We have one IA who's retiring, but we're put a placeholder in for that position. We did hire an IA during this year, so from the last budget in '26, in
Yeah.
February of fiscal year '26. A year ago in February,
Yeah.
the budget we presented was for 30.5 instructional assistants.
Okay.
Since then, we have hired an additional one with the needs in the sub-separate classroom. So there's the IA.
Okay. I guess I have concerns with the hiring of positions in general that I think I want to see us get addressed this year. I went back through, 5 or 6 years worth of data, and by my numbers, in 2021, we had 167 FTEs, and now we're up to 190.25, which over a 5-year period is a 14% increase
What are you using numbers from the
from the
top sheet?
Yes. So if you go back to FY 21-22, we had 167 budgeted FTEs. I don't know if that's, I can only go off the spreadsheet you guys give me,
Right,
so I don't
and-
know if it's correct or not.
And I
Because
don't
it sounds
know.
like the one I got 2 weeks ago was already incorrect.
Yes, there
So-
was an error in one of the positions.
Okay.
It didn't get
I guess
added back
my
in.
concern is if we have increased our FTEs by 14% in the last 5 years, and now we're asking for an additional 2 and change, I would have problems with that. Because how much has enrollment gone up? Is it 14%? I don't think it is.
Well, it's not all to address in some cases, it's classroom additions, but in some cases, it's, could be for instructional assistant, or it could be a related service, or it could be some separate program. I don't, you know, depending on the year, I'd have to go back and look at. I mean, I know that the budget we presented, we didn't add any staff from last year when we presented the budget. We were
Okay.
clear on that.
Yeah, that's fine, if those numbers, I'll double check them when I'm done with this, but I guess my concern is not just last year, it's a general theme of what's been happening.
We've definitely added staff over the years,
Okay.
for sure. Yep, absolutely.
And when we started this process, I was very clear with you guys that I'm not gonna support any budget that adds more staff without some data behind it. I still to this day haven't seen any of that,
Do you want, I mean, we have, you know, there's information that I can certainly provide
Yeah.
on these positions, like,
Sure, yeah, as we go through line by line, we can certainly do that.
Okay, so I'll start going through each page of the budget. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and stop. I'll only highlight areas that we saw a large change in. Okay, the first page, and that would be page 1 of 33, is the school committee budget.
Can I ask what I understand the secretary increase, because I know we talked about that in the previous meeting. Are the additional expenses something we're planning for, or like in specific, or do we just see that number trending up?
Yeah, I believe there were increases.
Yeah, there was an increase on the memberships
membership
and
fees.
the conference fees, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So that's what that was.
Great. That's actually another thing that I would kind of like to see us add, is if we have any number that's going up by more than X%, let's just add a little note about why, if we know why. That would be very helpful.
Okay, I want to be clear also that when you look at the percentages can be misleading. When we're talking about pretty small dollars here,
Yep.
to put a comment by every,
A 12% increase, how many 12% increases do you have in here? It's probably.
but the increase is $819 on a $22 million budget.
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of splitting hairs in my opinion, but I will write something for everyone.
Yeah, I disagree. I think if I see any line item that goes up by more than X%, I want to know why.
Okay, what percent are you looking at?
But we can decide on that as a group, but I just think 12% is a pretty high number. So if we know why, that's great. Like if you know, we don't have.
well, I
to
think
tell them
that, again, I'm assuming the 8 or 19 has to do with fees, conference fees,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
membership
we just
fees.
said, yeah.
But that's what I mean. You're assuming that. How would I know that? I'm just saying if we had like a line item that told me that, then I wouldn't have to ask the question. Is my point.
Okay. The next page is the superintendent's office. Contractual raises.
Can you, sorry, me again. All right, so the 6% of the secretaries, I think you guys have explained to me this before, but this is not actually a 6% increase because it comes out of some other line item?
In previous years, and years when contracts are being negotiated,
Yep.
we don't want to play our hand. So the amount that we budget for is included in contractual expenses. It's a line item later down,
Okay,
further down.
okay.
Because if we're in the middle of negotiations or anticipating negotiating later in the year, we don't want to say that we've already budgeted for X percentage.
Yeah, that makes
It
sense.
leaves no negotiation.
Yeah.
So this year, the school committee asked that we include current year raises in the line item for the particular position that was being raised, whether or not contracts are being negotiated. So this year's request for salaries is going to include last year's budgeted, last year's amounts that may have been included in contractual benefits because that's where you put unnegotiated areas. So secretaries, the secretaries are, a lot of them have a year-to-year contract, a 3-year contract that does not have the percentage raise included. So a rate, a 3% raise would be included in contractual benefits to give Mark the option of deciding based on performance, based on other factors, what raise to put in. But this year, it was requested that we include 3% in each position. So
Okay.
3% is in plus the percentage from the previous year that was not included because it was in contractual benefits.
But if I look at the same item on last year's one,
Mhm.
once again, the sheet you gave me 2 weeks ago, there is a 3% increase for the secretary line item.
Because that was the previous year's increase.
So it was always a year behind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you would
We're
see the
playing catch up
increase.
this year.
And then when we negotiated contracts and discussed the plan for the year,
Yeah.
we decided this was gonna be the year that we played catch-up, basically. And so
Okay.
it would look like a big jump, but it's really because it's 2 years. So next year, we'll be back to
How did you
half that
pay
number.
these people before if you were always a year behind?
We weren't. The budgeted amount of money sat in another line item, contractual benefits,
Okay.
which you will see.
So all these numbers that are doubled, if I go through and cut them in half, that's gonna be the same as the contractual benefit number that's going down?
It will be well, not necessarily the percentage, because contractual
No,
benefits.
the raw number, not the percentage.
The raw number, yeah.
Okay.
But that contractual benefits line also includes the sick time buybacks for people who've retired, teachers. And any staff that retires, along with the $10,000 early retirement incentive
So
for
that-
teachers.
That number is significantly less this year due to only one retirement, where in years past we've had more. So that's where that money is placed
Yeah.
to pay out those
Okay,
benefits.
so, but I guess my point is, all these ones that are 6% and they're really 3 and a 3, if I go through and cut them all in half, that's gonna line up with what's coming
It
out of
should.
contractual. It's not gonna, okay. More or less, I'm not gonna hold you down to the dollar figure. Okay. And then my other question would be around the office expenses. Are we actually spending this amount? Is this for something we're planning on adding, or is this, we're just putting a little buffer in here because we see this number growing?
We see the number growing,
Okay,
and it fluctuates year to year.
yep. Do we know how much we spent on that this year?
20,000.
That's what, no.
That was the budget.
expenses
Oh, how much
to-
we've
to
spent to
date.
date? I don't know how much we've spent to date.
Let me find that.
Office expenses. Let's see. To date, we've spent $17,899.
Okay,
So most likely we have under budgeted for
Yep.
the previous.
no, that's
year.
good, that's kind of, I know we've had this conversation, that's kind of what I want to see us forecasting a little better, so I'm glad we're increasing that number.
Okay, the next page is the finance and legal. We offset some of the business office salaries with surround care revenues.
Is that what that is earmarked for in general, surround care income?
It pays the salary of the person who runs surround care, and then also some of the overhead for the business office, yes.
So, once again, so if I take the surround care number out, because we added an additional 10,000 for school contribution, so that number really went up like 5,200 or something, which is a 10% increase, roughly.
Correct.
So what, I guess what's the explanation behind a 10%?
Well, if you
increase?
look back to the previous years, in fiscal year '25, we spent $53,000.
Yeah. Yeah, but isn't this a
So-
person who has a salary which is already determined?
The surround care person does, the other people in the business office are hourly and part-time.
Okay,
So that fluctuates, depends on need.
okay. So this is not a salary person, this is a number that we are seeing
Correct.
increases in one of action, okay.
Do we have some sort of, and I'm sorry if this was discussed somewhere else, but some way of seeing what surround care is actually profiting, like versus the staff for surround care in the schools, and, I mean, is that in here? I haven't seen that anywhere.
No, surround care is not listed, but it's a self-funding program.
Okay, so we have,
So it pays for itself, and
And
then
then-
it helps contribute to here,
To the revolving.
to the revolving.
okay.
It takes no general fund money.
So I guess are we, back to the business clerk number, because now I'm looking at last year. So we increased it 9% last year, and we're increasing it 10% this year. I mean, I know it's not 10% with the school contribution, but 10% total. Is that, it seems odd to me to have a 19% increase over 2 years.
I mean, it's an hourly rate that went up.
Are we doing significantly more work in the business office?
Uh,
Do
we
something?
We did last year. We had a number of negotiations that required more work from everyone. As we also had the building project that required additional work.
So now that the building project is dead, wouldn't we have less work then? So it's
No,
going
what's
down?
coming up next year is the town is putting a new payroll system in.
Okay.
So there'll be significant hours devoted to helping put the new software program in, converting what we have now.
Okay.
And
Just-
as our
once again,
numbers, yeah.
I'm gonna have concerns over any number that we're increasing almost 20% over 2 years. Like, it's
Mhm.
just, other towns are laying people off and cutting people, and I just can't justify 20% increases in my head. It's tough to swallow, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you.
So over time, when I first started, we had three full-time people in the business office. When one of our payroll clerks left, we only hired someone part-time. So we already took our cut in that office, a significant one, about 4 years ago.
Okay.
The next page is district technology. Page 5 is all the principals.
Hold on 1 second, sorry, I'm slow. The data processing number on technology, is this a number we know already, or is this an estimate based off of?
Some pieces we know,
Okay.
and you can see the explanation in the writing, tells what is included in it.
So what I'm saying is we've received contracts that indicate there's gonna be a 7% increase, or we're guessing?
Yes, there are contracts that are going to have a 7% increase. More than that, one of the pieces of data processing that the town provides is going up, I think they said 23% this year.
Okay. And then the technology staff, this is the whole 6% catch-up thing for the 2 years?
Correct.
All right.
Principal's budget is the next page. The following page,
So, hold on, sorry. The Spring Street Secretary with the 10% increase, is that a 2-year deal? Like, is that another catch-up one?
yes, and this year, the Spring Street Secretary is now in the union, so it increased it. The last year was a catch-up, and then a piece for the union.
Okay. All right, I'm good.
The next page includes teaching services, which are teachers, librarians, substitutes, some kindergarten aides, as you can see. And the contractual benefits number is included in here.
So this is the one we were talking about before?
Correct.
Okay.
It represents contractual obligations for retiring staff, attendance buybacks per contract, and any other contractual benefits under negotiation.
One of the areas of most uncertainty in any school district are substitutes, but daily subs, but really the long-term subs, maternity leaves or other leaves where we're paying potentially 2 staff members. So there's always a lot of fluctuation. We've seen it go up and down over several years. We're trying to stay consistent with last year's appropriated numbers.
So I know that the library one is obvious, that sticks out. Are the other increased positions under the teachers at the different schools? Like, is the reading specialist under,
Yes, Howard.
okay, so the reading specialist is Howard. is.
High
Middle senior high
school.
school, along with, I believe we have the nurse, the .5 nurse out of the high school. as well.
Correct.
Oh, I thought there was a separate-
Nurses aren't in this.
No,
one.
Yeah,
no.
there's a
Oh, sorry,
separate one,
wrong
right,
one.
yeah.
But the
Okay.
kindergarten or the elementary IA is on this one. Right?
Yes,
And this kindergarten aid one is part of,
those are the kindergarten IAs that are non-sped.
So actually, the whole sub thing, I guess if we're adjusting other line items to match what we're actually spending, I feel like we should do that in subs as well. These subs numbers are probably way too low, right?
Well, right now, I'm projecting that we're gonna be estimating to be around 100,000 at the end of this year,
For all three?
for all four,
All
yes.
four, okay. Okay.
I mean, you have to remember that our budget now in February is a guess, and you're basing it on a guess that we had for fiscal year '26,
Yep,
and right now in February, what we're putting down for the '27 appropriation is
Yep.
almost 16 months out from the close of the FY '27 year.
yeah. But
Difficult to predict.
I agree, it's difficult to predict, but that's why I was surprised in '25 when you spent 54, 56, and 129, that for the '26 budget, we only appropriated 20, 25, and 52. Like that.
Oh, well,
relatively
again,
less than half.
maternity leaves and then things may not, it's up one year, maybe down the next.
Yep.
It's, again,
Yeah, it's
trying
impossible.
to balance the budget as best we can.
Okay, so I mean, if we think those numbers are good, then I guess I'm okay with it, they just seem low to me. That's one area where I think you probably could go higher, but
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not gonna argue with you
we
to
know
raise it.
about
but-
lots of pregnancies, so.
But it's just impossible to know
Well, we
now for
already know we're
16 months
looking
out.
at least 2 at Roselle for maternity leave.
And that is factored into the
It-
number that we've included.
Only 20,000?
So, I mean, when we hire subs, we're not paying on a salary scale. We budget between $150 and $275 a day. That's what's negotiated into the contract. So it's significantly less, and it depends on when they're going out, the length of time they're out, and so forth.
Refresh my memory,
Yes.
the language changed, they changed the rate. That happened around, if my memory serves me,
It
around
did.
fiscal year '25,
It did.
right?
I think
And
that
that's
was-
why the drop.
That's part of it, you're right,
Correct.
thank you for bringing that up. That was the impetus for doing that, because when you're paying 2 full-time salaries for a few different people, clearly you're gonna, be adding basically
Okay.
FTEs.
So that explains why the
Yeah.
numbers, okay.
Yep.
All right, if you guys are good with those numbers, I'm fine with them, but I
I
don't
mean,
know, they
that's
seem low
why-
to me. I feel like there's subs are always in need and we're always short on them, but.
I mean, that's why ultimately it's a bottom line budget, which is great because it is impossible to budget this many line items accurately 16 months in advance. Okay, the next,
I want to go back on that one, I'm sorry. The monitors, those are recess monitors, I assume, or lunch monitors?
recess, lunch monitors are paid out of
Okay.
federal dollars through the lunch program.
Why has Howard's gone down so much? I mean, I hate to ask about less money, but,
That is up to the principals, that's part of their principal budget. So if you
I can address it if
refer,
you'd like to know.
that'd be great.
I use my teachers to cover recess.
Okay.
So teachers have a contractual 30-minute lunch. If I use my teachers to cover lunch duty, then they aren't getting their 30 minutes contractual lunch. So I use the cafeteria monitors through the cafeteria budget to cover to cover lunch. My teachers then do a 20-minute recess, and that ensures that when they have lunch, when their kids have lunch, they're getting their, so my teachers are,
So
that's
this
their
is all
duty.
good with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
That just
yeah.
looks weird to go down so much on something. Thank you.
I do think some of that monitoring money shifted to covering common planning. So the money's still there, it's just under a different line item. So
Okay.
we have subs who will come in and provide coverage for teachers so that they can do work on wit and wisdom.
Okay.
So if you look at page 9, skipping ahead a couple of pages, I've listed out the pages and the budget sections that make up the principal budgets. So the principals have discretionary spending. It includes curriculum, which they're given the amounts it's going to cost over a number of line items. And so they determine whether they need more textbooks this year, more software, whether they want to put more time into common planning. So that's really discretionary to them. They stay pretty much within the same 2 budget every year. This year it went up slightly because Howard had to replace some additional texts. So that answers the up and down questions of a lot of the smaller amounts that you're going to see coming up. Page 8 is professional development. And then page 9, again, you'll see the summary that I put in your notes that shows the breakout, so you can see without trying to add each one. So class supplies are gonna go up and down depending on need each year, textbooks.
I'm sorry, does this include the wit and wisdom fees? that we pay?
Excuse me?
The wit and wisdom,
Yes,
Pro-
that is included in these totals.
The high school library references, it's just a very exact number. Do we have that earmarked for something particular?
It should be for subscriptions, online subscriptions, I believe.
And we didn't have those the last 2 years?
We did not, due to not having the person in the position, so we added that back in.
Okay, so if we don't have the librarian, we take that out?
That presumably would come out, yes.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question about the media specialist position?
Yes.
Is that one we haven't had for a while and is one that we're supposed to have for accreditation?
Yes.
I just
And
want to, can I be clear
Yes.
though?
Yeah.
We had someone, and then we used the position for something else, I understand.
we had a full-time position, we didn't find someone, we looked and we moved it into the budget as a part-time position, and then that position, we reached out to look for funding, and the cable committee said they wouldn't fund that position, but they would fund a TV media person, so they paid for half and we paid for half. So yes, in essence, we did have a half-time position. It was full-time, it was cut down to a half-time position. The reason we took advantage of the cable's halftime pay was our coordinator for that department, the finance department, is a TV teacher. So he went from teaching 6 classes to 4 classes. So without that additional position, our TV studio would only have 4 teaching sections, 7 to 12. And again, we've, a lot of money, a lot of time, and great products come out of that. So it was beneficial to fund that position part-time. So that's why we're looking to add back the library media specialist. Again, not only for some teaching blocks, potentially in the middle school, but also for working with our students and our staff and being a K-12 resource.
But not eliminate the halftime person, correct?
No, I mean, we need those with the signups that right now the person's teaching a couple exploratories as well as teaching some high school classes.
I mean, it was tough. We didn't get very great candidates for full-time, never mind, I can imagine who was
It's a tough certification
as
to
well as
fill.
media specialists. We didn't get any qualifications. That was a salary that we offered.
Okay, page 10, again, these costs are, a majority of these are the ones that are included in that summary on page 9. High school classroom hardware, that represents purchasing about 125 Chromebooks for our 7th graders. We are supporting and offsetting that purchase with evening school funds and choice money. Tech maintenance includes some of the outside contractors, the network monitoring.
And And that's the number the town just gives us, right?
Most of it, but we have pieces that are in-house as well.
I'm surprised the software costs are going down. Is there just, we're not using as much as we thought, or?
Again, those are part of the principal's budgets. We
Okay.
give them the exact amounts they need for their softwares and texts. And licenses, yeah. Page 11 are the counselors. The high school counselors decreased. We hired, we had some new hires at lower cost.
Sorry, I'm still confused by what we're doing here. So the secretary, 8% increase. I'm assuming that's a 2-year thing, but why are some people 6 and some people are 8?
Because they move steps. The secretarial contract has steps.
They have steps in it too? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Page 12 is the ESL service. This includes the salaries as well as about $5,000 worth of supplies for the program. Our EL students have remained constant from during budget time last year to this year. This year, we have 45 ELs and 35 FELs for a total of 80 students being serviced. Last year, we had 51 English learners and 29 FELs.
And again, these staff are spread over the 4 buildings with 4 different schedules, so it works, but it's not easy. And the number, when you look at the English language learners who come in, depending on what level they're at, there's a mandated amount of time needed to be spent with them daily, so.
Page 13 are the nurses and health expenses. We have a Spring Street nurse. A quarter of that salary is paid for through a health grant. The high school nurse line includes the .5 floating nurse, and we have offset that cost with $25,000 of choice money. Page 14 are our busing and transportation. McKinney-Vento has decreased. That's another very difficult number to nail down. You don't know how many homeless children you are going to have to transport in any given year. Mid-year, I believe right now we've added 1 or 2 homeless students that we have to transport. And our bus contracts have gone up 4%, and that's a contractual obligation.
Okay, so that's a known number, that's not us
It
estimating.
is.
That also includes the Aggie transportation as well, right?
Yes. Page 15 are student body activities, so that's sports and the extracurricular clubs. We offset a significant part of our athletic costs with the athletic fees from the athletic revolving.
So 11% increase for coaches, is that?
They have step as well as the step increases.
And
The coaching and the
coaches-
COLA.
And it could be new coaches that are hired with more
That's what I was,
experience.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, did we like add a sport or something?
No,
No.
no, but it could be, again, if they're hired at a different step, they have a number of steps. They don't go down, but they do go over,
Mhm.
up to five
Five,
step,
yeah.
5 million.
Okay, page 16 are the custodial services. We offset a significant amount of the custodial overtime and supplies from the evening community funds that we generate from building use. This also includes a DPW, a town employee, half a salary from a DPW employee.
So I think we talked about this last time, but Shouldn't the custodians also be on as an added position, because you added .5 from last year?
Those were part-time that became full-time.
So you,
Yeah, I mean,
you
it
added
is.
.5 FTEs.
But they
Sure.
were, but, I mean,
They
they
were-
were,
it
they were
replaced the
part-time, there were two
part-time.
part-time people that were filling in, so, I mean, in essence,
Last year, your custodians line says represent salaries for 9.5 FTE custodians.
Right,
This
he
year it
was
says
done,
represent salaries for 10 FTE custodians.
yes,
So that's an increase of .5 FTE.
yeah, .5,
So okay,
yes.
so that should
Okay,
be
we'll
in your
put
first
0.5.
slide deck about added position.
even
Okay.
though they were filled in by part-time, two
Sure.
part-time people working.
I mean, he needed to fill in, they do a great
All I'm
job, they
saying is-
need it. So,
You can't
yeah.
make statements like we didn't add any positions in FY '26 if you did. That's my point.
Well, we
If you
didn't add,
added you added half an FTE by your own notes here. It should be documented on your,
right, what we're saying is we employed two different people that were working the same hours they weren't full-time employees, we were giving them hours to work, so in essence, they probably should have been in there, but
but it's also a 12% increase. So like,
Yeah, the
to me, that
custodian's
seems
now
like you added
under
a
a
person.
union,
so
and there's also
Yeah.
unionized now, so,
they
they
weren't
have-
unionized prior to that, I think it was after that they unionized.
And also the overtime,
overtime is snow removal. Overtime is also related to working the building use that we get paid for, dance recitals, sports.
yep.
And their overtime is mandated through their union contract now for minimum number of hours. So we offset the overtime costs with the money generated from building use.
Okay, but total number, it isn't a 10,000 increase. I understand you took a revolving fund and applied it to it, but, I mean, that's a 50% increase in overtime. Is what I'm seeing.
And we're trying to line it up more accurately with what we see coming down the pike for overtime with the number of building use applications we've had and the increase in overtime costs related to the union contract.
And I would think even like this weekend when we had games,
Huge.
Saturday
Yeah.
night and Sunday, we're paying people to come in
We are.
and work the
Extra
games.
hours.
Yeah, but that's existed since the beginning of the time for the school, so that, I mean, that's not a reason for the increases, right? You've always had
No,
this.
it hasn't been as strict. Now they have a minimum required number of hours if
Okay.
you're working building
So it's because they went to
use.
the union, though?
Yes,
like,
it's
but, I
because they
mean,
went
we-
unionized.
But it's not because we had games this weekend. is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
no. The next is the heating costs. About a 3% increase in line with what I discussed with the town.
Okay, so does the town just give us this number?
They don't, but I always talk to them to find out how they're doing, how they're going up. Last year, they wanted to go up 5%. They felt the costs were gonna increase. This year, they told me they were anticipating closer to 3%.
Because this is another one that seems like, it almost seems like we're too low to me, based off actual spend from '25. But maybe if the actual spend from '26 is in line with these numbers, I'm fine with it. But if you look at like, the high school, we spent 60 grand in '25, why do we think we're gonna only spend 48 in '27? I mean, we
Yeah,
all have
I mean-
houses, the electric prices are only going up. I would expect that number to be
Well,
almost
because in
like 75.
'24,
Dude.
the actual was 47 in '25. We went up to 51 now.
No, I see the actual being 59 in '25, for high
Right,
school year.
47 and 24.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong
And then you
line.
approve that, yeah, that's,
Yeah, okay.
That's what I mean, like, to me, it would almost make more sense if we could look at like what we've spent so far and see if these numbers are in line. Like I said, I'm not gonna
I
argue.
do, I
I'm not
do.
gonna argue you guys to raise numbers, but it just seems, these seem low to me, is all I'm saying.
And we do, we extrapolate the numbers on the number of bills we have to date.
Okay, and I know Kara and I have had this conversation before with you guys, like, this is like a perfect example of like, if we put these numbers in too low in the future, you're gonna need to come to us to move the money around. So like, I would just, just like at my house, if I spent 60 grand on electric 2 years ago, I wouldn't assume I'm only gonna spend 48 this year, is all I'm saying. But if you guys are comfortable with it.
So this is all part, if you look, what you vote on, to move money around like we have discussed in the budget meetings, this is all part of one of the
Cost center?
cost centers.
Oh, so the cost center's not heating?
Oh, there is a heating cost.
That's what I'm
center.
saying.
All right, there's a
I'm trying
heating
to-
cost
I'm
center.
trying to save
Okay.
us work down the line if these numbers are too low.
I mean, if you want to throw out a number to raise them, let me know.
My brain is spinning here, because I'm looking at that 59,000, and there was a reason it was high that year, and I'm not gonna remember without having to go through my,
I don't know.
but there was
I
a
know.
reason, there was something that happened that year that made it much higher than
So
anticipated, but I
that's
don't
back to my
remember.
point when we first started this, like, I feel like we need to document this stuff. I don't wanna rely on having to have people that have been on the committee for 5 years to remember this stuff. So like, I feel like if we have large increases, we should just make a note of why it was happening. Because, you know, we're not all gonna be here in 2 or 3 years, and we're not gonna remember it.
The next page is utilities. Again, roughly 3%. A few places, we saw the trends changing a little bit different. We went up. The high school electricity has been a significant drop. I'm on page 18.
Hold on one second, because our 18, at least in my packet, is the out-of-district tuition. But let me see, maybe
Yeah,
it's
utilities.
not in order here.
I mean, ours aren't, mine's not numbered either, so it's a bit-
Yeah, some of them don't have page numbers.
How did,
I think they got out of order.
did you print them? Oh, you printed them?
It's
The
the very
packet-
last page, I think, at some point, the collation.
Yep, there it is.
And I think it's gonna be backwards from here on out.
It should be lines
Yeah.
3413.
And they should all have page numbers.
I think they're backwards from this point out.
All right, so 18 is utilities, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
3413.
All right.
All right, so high school electric had been trending down. The town has some electric contracts with a company called Palo Verde that they re-sign each year. They really can't give me a clear explanation on what exactly it does or how it affects our electric bills, so they tend to be all over. But, you know, we felt that it was coming in low enough to decrease it. Maintenance of grounds, do you want me to 3421? That is our contract for waste removal, and we moved from South Shore to Kearney to reduce the cost. Okay, maintenance of buildings is 3422. So some of the money that we saved in the electric, you know, was the heating that we reduced it by, I'm sorry, the electricity. Used it for high school repairs. We've run into significantly more repairs at the high school than in previous years. This year alone, we had a $35,000, $660 dollar repair to some of the HVAC area. In here, between heating, electric repairs, general repairs, those are kind of fluid because different repairs require some of each of those areas and it's impossible to break it out. So for simplicity, knowing it's in the same cost center, and knowing that we've had issues with high school, that's where,
So there's
We
not a
increased it.
specific project tied to this.
not on this one, no. And that increase is less than the electricity that we reduced. Page 21 is equipment maintenance. This is service contracts for HVAC systems, elevators, copiers, fire systems, phone systems, cameras that we have in, and those have increased significantly.
Just
In
due to
addition,
the contract.
the contracts have increased. Our Air Masters contract doubled from last year, and that's one that covers HVAC maintenance. Also, the high school copiers have aged out. They're almost 12 years old now, so we replaced 8 copiers. Those 8 had not had leases in the past. Copier leases go in here.
So this is another combination of some of these are known and some of them are estimates? Or these all known?
Yeah, most of them are known and based on the previous year.
Yeah, this feels like another one we might want to quote out. I mean,
We do.
Last year it was a 9% increase, and this year it's a 10% increase.
And the economy has played a big part in that. The next page is insurance. The town deals with getting all the liability insurance for the schools and for the whole town, and we're a piece of that. And in addition, the town handles unemployment, and this year, we've seemed to have a number of unemployment claims. Again, another difficult number to nail down based on the unemployment piece. The town is self-insured for unemployment, so that means we don't contribute to the state fund, so the whole cost of the unemployment is on the town.
And once again, that's a number that the town gives you? Or-
Yeah, close to it, but they don't estimate the unemployment piece, but I look back and see what we've paid.
Okay.
Page 25 are the ag schools, 3,900.
Oh, you have 2 that would,
Oh, yeah, there's
Sorry.
not funded.
right.
So, last year, we had a significant number of students apply for the ag schools. A total for fiscal year '27 that enrolled, '26, were 9. 2 will be graduating at the end of this year. So included in our FY '27 appropriation request are 7 students who will be returning for '27 and the 2 students who have applied. Page 26, or,
Hold on 1 second, sorry. So, and this is one we've talked about before where we expect some money to come back this year, right? Because
correct.
we had that emergency fire drill last year. So I'm still, so if last year we added 294, but we're only decreasing 170 this year, what's the other 120? Did you say 2 were graduating and 2 were applying?
So during '26, we actually ended up enrolling 9 students.
Okay,
I believe we budgeted for 13.
okay.
2 are graduating during this fiscal year. So next year, we'll have, for '27, we'll have 7 returning students plus 2 who apply.
Yeah, so 9 max.
9 max.
Yep.
Now, we say max, but they still can apply. You know,
Yeah, 9
the
reasonable
lottery,
assumption max.
Yeah.
I think it's till April 1st, they can still apply. After that, we can say no based on the date. So there is still a window, but we don't have indications that they are.
Right. The next page is Special Education Administration.
Is there a reason this has gone up so much
Yeah.
over the, and what is,
So the reason is that previously we had hired a retired special ed director to be our district coordinator. So our current director of special needs took that over at a less amount, but it came out of a different line or paid for
It was
by a
paid for a
grant.
grant.
So she's now doing the district placement coordinator outside of the regular contractual day. It actually works better to have that person in-house. So that's the reason for the increase.
And where was that previously? Which cost center was
It
that?
came out of a grant.
Okay, oh, okay,
Yeah.
but it wasn't included in the budget here?
No.
Okay.
So, once again, just trying to wrap my head around a 13% increase for this year. It's because this person took on additional responsibilities, is that what we're hearing?
Correct.
Okay, which came out of another line item, or no?
Yes, it was paid for, I don't know, it was out of a grant before.
Previously, we were paying for the out-of-district coordinator through, I believe, the 240
That's what I was gonna
grant.
say.
So did we assign those grant dollars to another line item?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yep.
and do we know how much that was?
I don't know.
I don't know if the top, I don't know.
12,000
More, I
maybe?
think, it was more, a little bit more than that. Because we paid a little bit less than what we paid
Mhm.
out. I don't have the numbers in front of me, though.
So, all right. But last year it was a 14% increase. So how did last year work with the grant then? You see what I'm
For
saying?
So
what,
la-
for what, for
well,
which
so
line?
the
The
reason.
director
that-
line item last
Yep.
year had a 14% increase,
So-
and then this year it is a 13% increase.
Sure, I can explain that. So the reason is, for a lot of the administrative contracts, we moved a lot of the stipends that they had into their salaries.
Yep.
So we rolled in, so that we anticipated and we saw an increase in the salaries due to them not being paid through stipends.
So last year, the increase was
And for her,
changing, this year it's from the grant.
yeah, it was ESY and McKinney-Vento were the two stipends that were paid. So now they become part of the job responsibility of the person.
The next page is the special, teachers for special education. Portions of these are preschool revolving, covers the cost of one preschool special education teacher. We offset some of the aides with the 240 special ed grant, and one kindergarten special ed aid, we offset with the early childhood
preschool,
grant,
yeah.
the preschool.
Yep, no, it's hard
yeah,
to see the
Sorry
line.
to see the preschool. So those grants are important to reducing our cost in
And
that
all the
area.
teachers are contractual?
Yes. The next page is the teaching services for the special ed students. We pay ESY from the 240 grant, that's extended school year, where our special needs students attend school here during the summer. And we have to hire teachers for that and specialists.
What is visual mobility? Just because I'm curious.
I believe, do we have a note on it?
I can answer
The
it.
specialists, yeah, I don't know exactly what it is.
A visual mobility specialist is for students who have visual impairments. Usually they're cortically visually impaired or legally blind, and so they have a specialist, not usually in-house with a small district like ours.
Right.
Even
Not
larger
in-house,
districts
right.
will contract out through like Perkins School of the Blind and have a specialist come out to provide those related services around navigating their environment.
Do we actually use it though?
Yes,
'Cause-
Yes.
Perkins School for the
Yes.
Blind.
Well, in '25, you budgeted 5,000 and didn't have any actual. So did we just start using it last year? Or this
We
year?
did not have a student who required those services.
Or the evaluation, it might have been
We
evaluation.
had someone come and provide services at the Howard last year. And that, the student requiring those services is now at the middle school. I let them into the building, so I know they came.
I don't know how you paid for it last year, then I guess is my question, but your FY
What year are
actual
you
for
looking
'25
at?
is
20, we're in 26 now. Is this the year that you had the person?
I had the student in
FY '20, so
FY
last year.
25?
But no, it would have been last year, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
26.
In 26, yeah.
26, FY 26.
In '25, but FY '26 budget.
Okay.
Sure, so-
Correct.
All right, as long as we're actually using it, that's fine. I just
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's confusing.
Otherwise, yeah, if we didn't need that or predict that we would need that.
And that's one that changes with the IEP as well,
Correct.
depending on
And
like.
the students, right?
Yeah, if the student is recommended for increased services, then that would increase.
Okay, and the speech pathologist, is that also contractual?
Yes.
The next are the special education psych services. It includes testing, the psychologists, and the adjustment counselors.
And the 75,000 is for a grant position. It's paid for as a school contribution. If that grant does go away, the behavioral health grant, then that person's position will go away, and we would share the only other adjustment counsel we have at the elementary level. So we'd have one for the K to 6. Right now, we have 2.
And the, like, once again, there's another one that just seemed, the testing seems low to me. 24, we spent 30, 25, we spent 70, and then we only budgeting 20?
Which we're budgeting 40, 20 is coming out of a grant.
Okay.
What are
Okay,
we
so-
at now?
yeah.
Do we know?
I don't know, a lot of it does come out of the grants, but that is, the special ed director helped out with that.
So, okay, so did we moved an adjustment counselor into a psychologist position at the high school? I'm just going off the notes from,
No, these are the,
Actually, yes. No, we went.
Oh, did
we
you?
had-
Yeah.
We had to hire 2 adjustment counselors. We hired 1 adjustment counselor and 1 school psychologist. The school psychologist provided us opportunity for more testing, so
okay,
much more bang for our buck. So they're both in the same office
Yeah,
area, but they're 2 different people in 2 different roles.
and they're both in the same psychologist line item, even though their functions are different.
and is that, are those increases also contractual, just because I see 7% last year and 8% this year?
Yes. The next page is special ed transportation. Our circuit breaker funds from the state, pay a significant portion of this transportation. And no equipment this year. And the final page is the out-of-district tuition. Again, we're offsetting the costs of out-of-district tuition with circuit breaker, the 240 grant, and some school choice for $1 million.
Why has this increased so much over the last few years?
The number of students, the costs of special ed out-of-district.
Is it just that there's more students that need this, or?
There's marginally more, but not significantly. Some of the program costs are going up. We had one program that went up
14% in 1 year.
14% in 1 year, even though our best efforts to try to cap that. Programs can reevaluate through the state, and they go through a process. So we sat in on meetings with them to basically no avail for that
Yeah.
increase. So
And this is no room, I'm just curious,
yeah,
it's-
this is what we're estimating for their needs.
And this isn't something, and just, this is my own education on this, is that this is not something where if we hired a different individual in the school district,
Right,
it
good-
wouldn't change this.
No, good question. Yeah, we don't have the programs for that. The
Okay.
programs we have, if we went through with a new building, we were proposing different programs with classroom space for those. We just don't have the classroom space right now
Okay.
for new programs, but in the
Okay.
future, hopefully.
Okay, that's it.
Are there any other questions or comments from the committee? Okay, hold on. Okay. So we'll move on to public comment. Members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members shall limit comments to 3 minutes and are reminded that public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. Personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during the public comment. Come on up.
Great, thank you. I actually have 2 questions. One's about the budget.
I'm
one's-
sorry, could you just state your name and your address for the record, for the minutes?
Oh, Nancy Maloney.
Thank you.
My interest is a long story that spans many, many years, but we can get into that later. I just have a question. I have a question about the budget, but I also have a question that's not related to the budget. So will I be able to ask that question in the regular meeting? Okay.
Yep.
So around the budget, what's the delta between what the revenue is per pupil for a school choice student compared to what the cost to educate that student is?
So so we receive $5,000 per student. The cost to educate students is more, but when we're adding school choice, we're adding them to a classroom that we're not adding a teacher, or we're not, they may need a Chromebook for sure if they're using that. They may need some textbooks if they're using textbooks. But we've only tried to add where we're not creating more of a cost by adding school choice. So it's really supplementing or adding to classes that maybe, say at the middle school level, they go from, 18 to 20 students, or, 20 to 22 students. So there's no significant cost. We're adding that, and it's really surplus for us. That's the reason we started it many years ago.
Right.
But we wouldn't
I
want
remember.
to have to add a teacher, even though you could add 10 students at 50,000, but you're not gonna find a teacher for 50,000.
Right.
But if we get to a point where we go from 4 to 5 classes, and we're hovering around 24 or 25 students, it may be advantageous to add a few more students, and then we're adding a teacher, so now we're gonna drop class size.
But from a money standpoint, we're kind of upside down with the school choice. So what my thinking is as these school choice students attrit out, we're not losing money.
We're
Because
losing
the
like just
delta
school
is
contributions.
upside
That's-
down.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where you're right, we're losing it there, and that is the inevitable track we're on, that as West Bridgewater enrollment goes up, school choice
Yeah,
will go down,
okay.
and so it's a nice thing to have, we've done well by it, but we
Yes.
know at some point it's gonna go away, or it's gonna be limited. We know that we'll probably, at the high school level, we have a nice kind of release valve in 9th grade, because if kids go off, we can fill in those spots. But at the elementary level, it's already dropped significantly, and it'll probably continue to drop.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
I have a copy of my remarks with my name and address for the record, Mr. Secretary.
Fantastic, thank you.
Relax, I was on the BR school committee for 18 years. And for some reason, I'm running again. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the West Bridgewater School Committee. James DuPont, 118 Elm Street East, Rainham, for the record. I come with a message of grave and immediate importance to the students of the West Bridgewater schools, the members of the West Bridgewater School Committee, the administration and staff of the West Bridgewater school system. The issue is twofold. First, it concerns the decades-long underfunding by the Massachusetts State Legislature of the several categories of local aid, including Chapter 70, which, as you know, is one of the biggest factors in setting the local property tax rate, and hence how much the people in the towns are asked to pay to offer high-quality education here in West Bridgewater. After Proposition 2.5 passed, the cities and towns were limited in how much they could raise their prior year's levy, and consequently, many local services, including pre-K-12 education, were annually reduced due to the insufficient legislative appropriations in aid to education and the other categories of local aid. This brings me to the second point. Where does so-called state revenue come from? It's not the tooth fairy. In fact and indeed, it comes from every resident and business in every city and town, including West Bridgewater, which in turn leads me to ask this question. Why isn't that money being appropriated and returned to you as dictated by the general laws of the Commonwealth in order to reduce how much the town of West Bridgewater has to ask its residents and businesses to pay? It's been my experience, I've been tracking this every year since 1973. Never once was Chapter 70 fully funded. I want to say that again. I have checked every year. House Bill 1 would go into the legislature and the House would cut it, the Senate would cut it again, the Conference Committee would cut it again. It's been my experience that our state legislators have never made full funding of aid to education or local aid a priority. Members of the majority party bemoan how tough things are this year in Boston. You're already hearing that. The minority party members shrug their shoulders and say there isn't anything I can do about it. Last year, Rainham's budget process resulted in a failure to pay its requested share of the BR regional assessment. After a failed Prop 2.5 override, a large layoff of BR employees, 40. 30 more this year anticipated. A large layoff of BR employees then followed. A resident I discussed this with said, sounds like bad management. And you've all heard that once or twice out on the campaign trail, I'm sure. I responded it wasn't bad management, but rather a shortfall caused by our state legislators not fully funding local aid in Chapter 70. His response, it sounds like our local officials mismanaged their relationships with our state legislators. Madam Chairman, the time has come for all local officials, including the members of the West Bridgewater School Committee, demand that our state legislators change the way they vote on local aid and aid to education from the current, here's what's left, to here's what you're legally entitled to under Chapter 70. As long as our state reps and state senators can get lauded for getting half a loaf, then the local residents and businesses will be told to make up the difference. And you, every one of you, not the governor, not the state legislators, you'll bear the brunt of the public's ire when taxes go up and educational opportunities go down. As the guardians of our students' constitutionally mandated right to an education, it is time you each demand that the legislators who represent West Bridgewater vote to fully fund Chapter 70 so that the town can provide the education that you're required by the Constitution to give them, every one of them, without asking the local taxpayers to make up for another shortfall by raising local taxes or asking for an override. And I'll simply close, Madam Chairman, thank you for your attention, your time, and say if the state has a shortfall, let them raise taxes. Let them lay off people. Accommodate the shortfall in state funds. We've been doing this every year after year and taking the blame for it. And I myself, I served 18 years on the Bridgewater-Rainham Regional School Committee. I was the first person to graduate from Bridgewater-Rainham to be elected to it, 1978. And even though the Affordable Care Act does cover psychiatric counseling, I went down and got nomination papers to run for it again this year. But I thank the committee for its time. I know you're not supposed to have discussions back and forth, but at the town meeting last year in Rainham, Ryan Powers, who grew up in Rainham, I knew his dad, now the superintendent, I asked him in front of 280 people at town meeting, in all his years with the Rainham Public Schools, 27 at that point, could he name 1 year as superintendent, 1 year that the town got 100% of what the formula said we were entitled to under Chapter 70? And he said, Mr. DuPont, no. Now, before Prop 2.5 passed, if we got shortfall, you threw another nickel on the tax rate and you went on about your business. Prop 2.5 changed that. You're entitled to that money. Stop letting them say, here's what we got left, do the best you can. I thank the committee for its time. I left a copy of my remarks for the minutes there, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont, for coming out. We appreciate it. All right, any other public comments? No? Okay. So is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing and open into regular school committee.
Move to adjourn the budget hearing and move into the regular open meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Okay. So we are moving on. The first thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the February 2nd, 2026 school committee meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes of the February 2nd meeting.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion on those minutes?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. All right, the warrants report. Mrs. Lazardi.
The following warrants were issued and paid for the fiscal year 2026. For bill warrants on February 5th, warrant number 28 was $54,025.17. On February 12th, warrant number 29 was $150,339.29. And on February 19th was warrant number 30 for $106,367.38. For payroll warrants on February 13th, it was $628,512.44. And on February 27th, it was $686,073.97. As always, all warrants are public record and once signed are available in the Selectman's office for review.
Thank you, Kara. Okay, we do not have our student representative tonight, so we will move right on to the superintendent's update. Before we do that, though, I wanted to thank Mrs. Grant for all of her work. We moved right in from hearing to public comment to regular meeting, and that got lost in the way, so thank you.
I agree.
All right, Mr. Boswell?
All right, Mrs. Marble is not here tonight, she's not feeling well, so
We have opportunity for her other public comment.
Oh, my goodness, so sorry. We missed right over the other public
Sorry.
comment. Thank you, Kara. Hold off, Mr.
I will
Boswell.
hold. I will hold.
Okay, public comment for our regular meeting. Members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members shall limit comments to 3 minutes and are reminded that public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. Personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during the public comment. Ms. Maloney, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. So again, I'm Nancy Maloney. I'll just give you a little bit of history. I grew up in this town. This is my town, love this town. Moved away, 6 years I moved away, but I came back because I wanted my children to experience the West is best education. And so now I have 2 grandbabies in this great school system. My concern runs around, and I want to preface this with, I'm not just concerned about my grandbabies. You know, I was on the school committee for 12 years, I was on the Board of Selectmen for 6 years, I was in YAA, boosters, all that. I have a care for all of the students in our schools. One of the things that came out of our town meeting with the failed elementary school vote was when I looked at the literature before I went to the town meeting, I immediately became concerned about the safety of Roselle and Howard schools. It's written there, it's online, what the safety concerns are. My concern is that, you know, at town meeting, there was a lot of talk about now's not the time to spend the money, now's not the time, and I get that, okay, that's how the town voted. But now is the time to make sure that our students are safe. And I'm concerned about that. So when I was on the school committee, there was a subcommittee, it was right after Columbine, and we had a subcommittee with a school committee member that was me, the president of the PTO, the fire department, the police department, and we developed a safe school plan. What I want to know is, where is that plan now? Like, is there a safe school plan? Has it been updated? Is it generally updated? And has it been updated? My real question is, those things that were identified as safety issues in both Roselle and Howard, are they in our safety plan? And my second part of that question is, yeah, we're not, you know, I don't know how we're gonna go with another project or another elementary school project, but what are we doing now to address those safety issues? That's my question.
Okay. I hope you have some time tonight, because we are gonna go over the capital budget and improvement plan, during the superintendent's update, so a lot of those
cool.
things will be addressed. And I think that in a future meeting, we can put actually, for the next meeting, we can put an update from the Safe Schools Committee. We do have a Safe Schools Committee that meets monthly?
Pretty much monthly, yes.
Monthly, so
Cool.
we can get
Good.
an update from that committee.
That's reassuring.
And
Oh,
it-
I'm so glad.
And it's been active for a long, long time. Mrs. Page runs it now, but it includes representatives from police, fire, school representatives, school committee representatives, and it's principals, and it's active, and it's very much engaged in what's going on.
Good.
So it's
That makes me
it's a
feel
great,
better.
and I feel it's a kind of a shining committee for our town because everyone works really well together.
And I think you alluded, Madam Chairperson, to that it's going to be part of a capital expenditure.
We're, in
Awesome.
the superintendent's update, he's got 4 items, and number
Awesome.
3 is the capital budget, so
Great,
stick
thank you.
around.
And I will say that to address that, when the vote happened on Saturday, Sunday morning, I got up first thing and started to review our capital budget and to prioritize safety items, so which you'll see.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience with us. All right, Mr. Bodwell,
All
now
right.
it's superintendent
I
update.
will, timeout practice, so we received a grant through Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Mrs. Marble is much more well-versed on this, but I will share some information here. It's a federally funded cooperative, competitive grant, supports districts in aligning with updated DESI regulations, and we recently went through an audit, so we know where we stand with that, related to timeout and seclusion, and really focuses on strengthening oversight, improving compliance, and reducing reliance on exclusionary practices, so we're keeping kids in school and certainly in safe situations. So the grant is for $43,000, and we're gonna use the funding for improving data systems and collection of data, providing professional development for educators, which is incredibly important, effective classroom behavior management strategies, and purchasing relevant materials and supplies to enhance our sensory spaces. I think in all the schools, we have very limited space, but we've been very creative in utilizing that space and space that's been observed and seen by DESI, so it is approved. And I think they should be commended for their ingenuity in finding good quality sensory spaces for our kids. And the outcomes are, hopefully, we're gonna, the goal is to improve data-driven decision-making, stronger classroom support, and increased inclusive instructional time for our students. So, we're excited.
I'm pleased to see this. It's my understanding that there's been changes in the regulations for
Correct.
timeout procedures and restraints, and they're pretty significant.
Yes.
And I believe we have August, they need to boots on the ground,
Yes.
right? I think, yeah, so.
Because it's for the start of September, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to see an update in August,
Mm-hmm.
September on how we're doing with that, because I know that's gonna rock everybody's
Yes.
world.
Agreed. So, the Reads Collaborative Quarterly Report is in your packet. If you have any specific questions, again, I sit on the Board of Directors for Reads and North River Collaborative, so they do a good job, and it's part of our duty to share that with all of you each quarter. So, the 5-year capital budget and improvement plan. So we do review this annually. I'm not sure if it's ever been as important as it is now, with kind of current circumstances. The FY '27 priorities have been adjusted due to the failed vote, anticipated delay in a potential project down the road. So I was asked at town meeting, why we haven't come forward with some of these requests, and I think it was, although safety is of utmost importance, we didn't want to duplicate efforts if we were going to hopefully have a new building within a few years. But we know that although we can apply as soon as next year, we know we're still delayed, so it's very important. All information is due to Town Hall by this Friday. We started on the day after the town meeting vote, and so we've been working for the past month or so. The snowstorm did delay some of the people getting in to do some of our quotes, but if you see what I've been updating is through today, trying to provide as much information and adding in the quotes. I do think it's a good idea to meet with our capital budget subcommittee as soon as possible after this meeting, schedule a meeting. And I'd like to bring in the directors to provide more specific information. I can speak to the projects, but I would like to have our directors provide more of the information on some of the needs. And possible review of looking at the projects. I think when we met as our subcommittee, we looked at trying to group projects together. But we may want to prioritize within those groups and break them up. Again, cost dependent, because there are some high costs associated with some of these. And then we're meeting with the Town Capital Budget Committee on March 17th. So from there, it goes to a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, who recommend it as warrant items for the town meeting. So here are some of the, again, these, we've looked at priority projects for FY '27. I will certainly defer to the committee for your input and information. Just today, we got our quotes on the Sallyport systems for the Roselle McDonald and the Spring Street School. The high school and the Howard School have a Sallyport, and when I say Sallyport, it's really a two-door system where someone can come in, do some business without entering the building. I think that's important, that if they can drop off materials or they can talk to someone without having to get into the building. At the Roselle and Spring Street School, once they're led into that one door, they have full access to the entire school. So limiting access for people, I think, is important, dropping off or waiting outside in a controlled area. So again, the quotes we got from one company, $99,000 for Roselle, and Spring Street, $56,000. They did come out and we went over a layout. For Roselle, it would be a system that if you're looking at the front doors, it would be to the left and would kind of closely line up with the office area. So that shrubbery out there would be taken out and they would do the system and they would wall off, kind of a diagonal wall from the current door to almost that corner. It would, again, provide access for the secretary to be able to see them. They could go into there, so they wouldn't even have to get into the building, but it would not be the primary egress in and out of the building. At Spring Street, there's a little way to be a little bit more creative. If you're looking at the Spring Street doors to where Mrs. Ellis sits, there's actually a custodial closet to the left. We would go through the custodial closet, which would kind of line up right with her office, so business could be conducted there, and then we'd have a storage area where the custodial closet would be moved to the left into the cafeteria. Again, much improved visibility, because right now it's a tough sight line from the office over. So I think those are, and again, these aren't necessarily in priority order, but I think they are. And Sallyports are important, I think. Paving projects, I do have a few slides, I'll actually go down to those in a second, just so you can see, but some of the paving is dangerous, and I think if we're looking at emergency access out of Roselle, because we did hear that at the town meeting, people were concerned about the one entrance in and out, so we do have some thoughts on that. Also at Spring Street School, and again, I'll show you some images, and related to the middle senior high school. So I'm just gonna quickly go and show these. Please excuse the, I'm not the best in trying to make some of these images out here, but the first one at the Roselle McDonald is replacing the sidewalk in front of the school. It's in terrible shape. It's pitted, gets filled with water and snow and ice, and I don't think it's particularly wide enough, and the sides are crumbling. So it's a tripping, slipping hazard for sure. And if we're doing the Sallyport, it makes sense because it would be coming right out to that sidewalk. And just so everyone knows that we are meeting with the DPW, town administrator, Mr. Waters, and Mark Nebrega and Mrs. Grant tomorrow to go over these. As you come into Roselle, if you went straight ahead, as you go into the loading dock in blue, that road is very heaved now. There's, looks like, frost heaves and very difficult to drive on. And in the back of the building where the loading dock is, Dr. Keitha today, that, where the water goes in, it's like getting more and more depressed in the back. It looks like it's gonna become a sinkhole. One of the areas, again, the emergency access road to Goldie, right now, it is wide enough, but it's not paved. They do a nice job of clearing the snow, but providing emergency access that's more accessible, I think, for police, fire, and even buses if we have to go out that exit. It would not be a main travel path, but I think paving it, or at least putting some gravel down would be very, very important. And we also
Can I
heard.
ask a stupid question on that one? So there's like the, like little blockade things on Goldie. Does anybody at the school have like a key to those? Like if you needed to get out, you could? Okay.
Yes, and I believe.
I wasn't sure if it was like just the town could do
I
that.
believe the DPW and I believe the police also have.
Have them in their cars, I think, yeah. And then widening Stepping Stone, there is town-owned property on both sides of Stepping Stone Drive, allowing more cars to exit, having a left turn lane and a right turn lane would be important, I think. At the Spring Street School, the DPW did a really nice job a few years ago between Spring Street and the Middle Senior High School, creating a gravel parking lot. Paving that, I think, would be great in terms of extra parking for our staff and also our families, but also for events. So if we can increase that a little bit. And at the end of the day, if you're ever dare to be at the Middle Senior High School around 2:10 when the kids are walking, although Mrs. Page does an outstanding job trying to divert them from walking, they literally walk right through the Spring Street parking lot, and you have buses exiting, you have parents coming in. If we could create a sidewalk on the grass area beyond where the cars are, I think that would improve safety. So they could cross over at the high school where they're exiting, and they could walk all the way to the edge of Spring Street and then onto Howard Street. And down below it shows the walkway sidewalk again, but then in red, we've always had a pinch point here at the Middle Senior High School when you come around the curve and you have the bus lane and you have the car lane, and it's a very kind of tight curve there. It looks decent when you have the grass and those ornamental rocks, but if we've talked to the DPW removing that, they could use that granite curbing somewhere else and just putting in some bollards across, so you'd have more width to get cars past each other, but still not have the cars intersect with the buses. So,
Sorry, at the Rose, are we gonna improve the walking path in the forest, or is that just gonna stay as is?
that, we didn't put it on our list. It's, I'm also trying to be aware of conservation areas and wetlands, and that, I think, does cross. So I think once we do that, then it would maybe trigger more things. I think also we had in there eventually widening or straightening Stepping Stone, but
If we widen the street, we just put a sidewalk on the new street there, or?
they could do that. If, I do think I think when that road was built, there was no wetland conservation area, so it's something we'll talk about tomorrow. Yep, if that's a good option.
Is this something, I mean, I guess I'm surprised to hear that paving and such is part of the school committee budget rather than the DPW or the town budget.
That's my goal for tomorrow.
That's, and, yeah.
Step on your toes.
No, and every year, the town does a really nice job of supporting sidewalks around, and they've put money aside every year, and I think maybe that can be the question to them tomorrow. Could that money be earmarked for these kind of projects? And again, we're not expecting all of these in a year. Well, maybe we are, I don't know, we'll see what we can do. And then, they're the experts, so they can oversee
I mean,
this.
some of these definitely, I think, are, like, widening that turn at the high school does seem like a school, I mean, there's probably some give and take on this, but
Right.
I'm surprised to see it all as part of, but if that's the goal tomorrow, that's great.
Yeah, I think opening it up and having their collaboration will be important. So the net number 3 is intercom systems and lockdown controls. So we have only received 2 quotes right now for Roselle and Howard. I will say, that we're waiting on Spring Street. The priority areas for me in talking to John Collins would be Roselle and Spring Street, because they do not have any intercom systems right now.
The Roselle ones is original to the building.
It's so old that they had to take,
Wire up.
they had to take the old microphone from the retro room from the old high school. So, you know you're old when
And
you.
there are spaces in the building that does not hear the announcements.
And I think from our meetings, it was concerning to me to hear that there are spaces in the building that also don't have phone access. So if there's an emergency and you're in that area or you're with a student in that area, there's no immediate way to communicate.
And
That
these,
seems like a priority issue.
it does, especially at
Honestly.
those schools.
Yeah.
Integrated into this would be lockdown controls, so that we could literally flip switches and have doors shut and lock. Again, these quotes, I've gone through them, but I haven't gone through with a fine tooth comb. I think they're all in stuff, so we can look at them and see what do we definitely need now and what could certainly wait, but I think two of the schools for sure. At the middle senior high school, our intercom system works perfectly fine. It's more the lockdown system that honestly has been years of kind of trying to troubleshoot that. So that's a lower priority. Fire alarm panels and controls, so it's not just the panels, but it's the devices within the schools, the speakers. They're quoted at about $84,500 per system for the three. Again, if we can package them together, I think that's better. But again, we'll look at priorities. We'll not only talk to our director of maintenance, but also the fire chief to see what he says. I think right now the Howard School is more the priority than the other
Yeah,
schools.
I think it's obsolete. It doesn't.
You can't parts,
You
or
can't get the
getting parts is very difficult.
Yeah.
And then computer lab at the middle senior high school, the computers there are original to the building project in 2015, so they were a little bit older than, probably, they were brand new then, but that's quite a long time to have these computers. That number is a high number, but again, some of the chip shortages and things, the number may come in under that when we actually go to order. Spring Street, we have a number of classrooms in the preschool wing, so where the superintendent's office is, we have 4 classrooms that, I wouldn't say they're original rugs, but they're 20 to 25 years old. They're pretty gross. They're cleaned every year, but it's tough to clean something that's so replacing with tiles. And we are, looking to move some classrooms around, so that may be a good time to do that. And at the middle senior high school, the clear story windows. So the clear stories are the windows up here. You can see the roof isn't leaking. In the clear story, there's areas of water, especially when the wind blows a certain direction, gets underneath the clear stories or gets into some of the weep holes. So that is a lot of labor to really seal up all of those. It's happened in the wing up here. It's happened in the gym in different places. So it's more preventative to stop future leaks from happening. When the document you have priority areas for each of the years, so there are some other things that are listed, electrical panels and fencing and playground areas. I think when you look at the totals, it's a lot. Not knowing the paving number, we're talking over $1 million. And again, that's with the 2 systems for the intercom and the lockdown. I think those numbers could be driven down a little bit, but I just want to throw it there for your thoughts. I appreciate your flexibility and me kind of adding stuff as we go and trying to be as updated as possible. But any thoughts or ideas would be appreciated.
This is not my first time seeing it. We met as a capital budget subcommittee, what was it? I don't even remember. We'll just say a few days ago. And so, it was very enlightening to hear some of the safety issues. I'm, aware obviously from town meeting and from previous discussions about some of the safety concerns, but as I said, things like the intercom and the inability to communicate outside of certain places in the buildings. It's just very concerning. And yeah, it's going to be costly, but these are old buildings. And so if we're gonna bring them up to speed safety-wise, it's something that we really need to prioritize.
I mean, in our list too, but it's really dependent on you know, enrollment, but we're looking at modular classrooms. That's a very variable number. Even our OPM was saying, when you get a good number, let us know so we can tell other people. So again, that's down the list, but that doesn't mean things couldn't move. And that's what's happened over the years. Things have moved, priorities depending on, could we wait another year? And unfortunately, we try, you know, for capital items, we've asked for, you know, for items, but not maybe as much as, you know, other departments, because we try to work within what we need. So I think now we're asking for what we truly need.
I think we talked about this maybe at the subcommittee meeting or before, but I think another thing that if I was, well, I guess I am, but as a town voter, like, one thing that I think would also help too is if you could just do like a walkthrough with like SRO or the chief from both fire and police, because I think like having them support some of these things would be nice for people to hear too. Like, you know, like, we can think something is a safety concern, but I think if, you know, the police chief agrees with us, I think that kind of holds some weight with a voter.
Agreed.
And I'm sure they have the same assessment, so I think it's just a win-win.
Right, and I know the last time we looked at a quote for the Roselle Sallyport system, Chief Flaherty was the one who really coordinated that and
Yeah.
ran that. So I think it's, you know, I
Yeah, 'cause
agree.
they might have ideas that we're not even thinking of, that like, oh, you should really do it this way, or
Yep,
whatever.
and I've let the chief, police chief know that we're doing this, and, you know, he seems in support, but I totally agree, it's good to have their support, you know, in the planning, but also when you go to town meeting.
I mean, having had those in-depth tours of the elementary schools before the vote, these were definitely, you know, necessary. The only other one that is slightly concerning to me is at Howard, the entrance by the cafeteria. What are we doing there to protect students with deliveries and things being made because they don't have a loading dock like the other schools do?
Good point. I mean, their loading dock area comes right into the school. So Anne Marie Grinder, food service director, is looking to see how they can maybe reconfigure that or add on to that to create a more secure loading dock area and more access directly
That I
in.
would think would be a priority.
Yeah, she's getting quotes, I think now, and I think it's her equipment that was in there, we've kind of moved that out because she's gonna pay for the equipment, but any of the building stuff would be a capital item.
Okay.
Yep, good point.
Yeah, because, I mean, because you can secure your front door as much as you want, but if you leave your back door wide open.
Right.
100%. Yep, totally agree.
You mentioned modular classrooms. What is the anticipation need for that? I mean, are we looking at next year we need that somewhere? Probably Howard, but is
I mean,
that 2 years? What is that?
I think it's, you know, if we wanted to have specialists have their own classrooms, we could probably do it now. I think it's when we run out of general ed classrooms, which I think we're very much, you know, we have minimal space. Next year,
Is next year our largest?
the
population at a
third grade
school?
is 5.
It's 5, it's like 110 maybe?
Yeah,
I think we'll be at 5 at all 3 grades, which is where we were last year.
but we've also had some 4s in there, so
Yeah.
we've got a couple years of 4s now, but we don't know
Right.
if that's,
So
you know, a
next
couple of
year's our
years will
Five
go
straight
up.
across the board.
And what that
Yeah.
does, is it limits the space now, we don't have, you know, like space for a Title I or
Right.
they're sharing major
Yeah,
spaces.
I'll be displacing Title I, OT, PT, and some special ed to put a classroom. in
That's
that space.
fully utilizing
How does a
the one
modular
library.
classroom affect safety? I mean, obviously, it's not an ideal situation,
Good
but I
point.
don't know, I mean, we don't have anything short of putting on an addition.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, you'd
But-
have to line it up with maybe, you
Yeah.
know, the wing of the
Yeah.
Howard School, but you still would have them traveling in and out
Right.
of the building. You'd also have to hook up the septic or have some type of enclosed system. Yeah,
but is that,
certainly.
if we're going to be going that route, is that something we should be adjusting for in these safety plans, budget-wise? That, I mean, it sounds like this is the need and that it's pretty permanent.
I mean, I think it can go from, you know, if we have an FY '30 up to '28 pretty quick, you
Yeah.
know, and, you know, as we look at it year to year and look at enrollment for sure. All right.
So I know there's a meeting with the town coming up. We have to meet next Monday to vote, presumably, what we decide, if we're voting on the budget tonight or next week. I'm anticipating it's probably gonna be next week. If we can add a capital budget update next week, that would be great.
Yes, and if we could try to schedule a meeting, like I said, the town wants the information this Friday, the 6th, so I'd like to give them as much complete information. What we've done in the past is we've put information in and then pulled it back. For example, the AEDs last year, we put in, but we found it through grants and donations, so we can put it all in and then just pull it back. We do have time from the 6th to the 17th.
Okay. That makes sense.
And next I have my annual report to the town. It's been presented to you, some modifications, some similar information in previous years, but I think it's just something that you may vote on.
I don't think we actually need to vote on this. So just kind of putting the cart before the horse, I guess. In our policy subcommittee report, we'll discuss a policy that we reviewed, and one of the compliance checks was just making sure that the superintendent annual report is presented to the school committee prior to being put in the town report. So this is just making sure we see it first.
All right, I think it's due,
Yeah, I think it's due Friday.
yeah,
It's due Friday.
okay. All right,
I didn't have any questions about it.
and then back to unfinished business.
Okay, so unfinished business. The first thing that we have is the school calendar for next year. I did request one minor change to this, and that was bumping the school committee meeting in June. It was originally on June 7th, and I asked that it be moved to June 14th. The reason why is because historically, this meeting always conflicts with athletic awards.
Correct.
And so we end up moving our time. It just makes more sense to put it on a different date rather than adjusting the time come May. So that's the only change that I requested there. Other than that, there aren't any.
No. I did share with the union today when I met with them. I think it would be probably good practice in the future if I share with them earlier just for their feedback or thoughts. But it's pretty much now determined that we're starting before in this year, Labor Day, so they may see something. It's good to have many eyes on it.
So is there a motion to approve the 2026-2027 school calendar?
Move to approve the 2026-2027 school calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, any other questions on this calendar?
No.
No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so moved. The next issue is the Chromebook blocking issues. Do you have an update for us?
I
Mr.
do.
Harlow?
I talked with Mr. Collins several times about this, and I met with the students on Friday to talk more about it. And I actually had them do some show and tell with using their computer. So in talking to John, he's done extensive testing on student accounts and not experienced any issues with Google searches being blocked unless there is a search term that is blocked. So YouTube appears to be working when the teachers are embedding it into their Google Slide presentations or adding it to Google Classroom. So that's what we've told them, that we're not opening YouTube for all because then all can access it. And actually, we have an agreement with Google that students under 18 cannot access it without the parental permission. So it seems to be working as it's set up. And I think their concern is they want to just be, they're looking up stuff, but it's blocking them. So we've asked the teachers to embed it in, and I know I've talked to Mrs. Page, I know she's talked to her teachers. And I think it may come down to the point that, they want it unblocked, but we have, students 7 to 12, and allowing kind of unfettered access to YouTube may create more problems. So that's kind of where we're at with it. I did explain that to them when I met with the superintendent council. They seem to understand that. I said, you're all, I'm sure, using it for the right purpose and for educational purposes, but it is blocked like it is in, I think, most districts, John said.
So, I mean, I have some thoughts about this, just kind of approaching it a little bit differently, thinking about, I mean, I know we're talking 7th grade to, 7 to 12, so that's a big, that's 12 to 18, it's a pretty big chunk of a span. But I just wonder about blocking YouTube entirely. Are we teaching them the skills to self-monitor, to practice self-control. What else can be done in terms of software that monitors, like Aristotle or some of the other things that are out there? I know that this is something that was really, really important to the students, and not just because they want to watch YouTube, but because they're experiencing inefficiencies when they're trying to do searches and whatnot. So
Yeah, but if the teachers want them to search something, they're embedding it into their lessons, and from what I'm hearing from John, and I think from the teachers, it's working when they're accessing what the teachers want them to access.
I have sort of the opposite take on that, is that we struggle with it personally in our family because we have it blocked in our house. So when the kids have lessons that have a YouTube link, we have to take them off the Wi-Fi and put them on a different network and then watch it a different way. So it's hard that, again, we have a large, just that same age range at home. But it's the opposite, where we're saying there's no need for that at all, and then they're coming home with it. So it is sort of the opposite struggle.
And I agree with the responsible use, and then we try to teach that with, cell phones and technology in general, so we hear that, it's just, trying to limit some things, and sometimes there's a downside to that.
any other questions or comments on that?
No, it's just unfortunate, I think that George isn't here tonight. I would just like to hear in general the students' feedback, because I know there was some disconnect in the beginning about what the actual problem was versus what, admin thought the problem was, so just,
Yeah,
I
it was
know-
crashing the whole search page
correct, that
rather
they'd be
than
searching
just.
and then just the whole page.
If
just would
YouTube
go
was
down.
a
Like, is that not
result, it
happening
shut
anymore?
down,
I'd love
yeah.
to get confirmation, just that that's
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah, and I would encourage George to talk to Mr. Collins, he's here.
him down there.
Oh, yeah, you did?
Oh, that's
Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh,
That's good.
perfect, thank you.
Okay, and then curriculum discussion.
Yeah, so I know we've talked about physical education, more specifically middle school, so I did do some research. I did reach out to administrators in East Bridgewater, Rainham, and Easton are kind of a local area, neighboring districts, and our students have one out of their 8 classes, so in essence, it's every other day, or it equals out to about 2.5 times, so over 2.5 times a week over the 10 days, 5 out of 10. East Bridgewater has it one, at the middle school level, 1 out of 7 blocks. So superintendent told me it equals about 3 times a week for middle school. Bridgewater and Rainham have it twice a week, and Easton has it every other day at their middle school level. Some of the things in talking to Mrs. Page and our coordinator, what we're looking to do is add SEL and mindfulness units taught by our guidance and adjustment counselors and our school psychologists. I think those can be done at any time during the year, and they could take blocks of students and blocks of time. Maybe it's when they have it, Tuesday, Thursday, they could take them out and do some impactful lessons. If we fill in the library media specialist, I think there's also some cyber safety training I think would be wonderful for all students of all ages, but could really target our middle school students so we make sure they're making good decisions. And I think just in general, I think there is a need for students to be active. We see students, some are very active, some are maybe overactive, but some may not be getting that exercise, the socialization outside of the traditional classroom, team building skills. Just not sitting in a general classroom, I think there's a lot of benefits, and I don't think we're far off from at least what our neighboring school districts are doing in terms of time.
So you mentioned the number of times per week these districts, but what are the minutes? That's because we're on a block schedule.
Yeah.
So really, when they have the class every other day, it's like they're having it every day, because it's 82 minutes or something like that. So I'd just be curious to know what
Yeah.
the minutes are.
East Bridgewater's on the block as well.
Oh, yeah, right, they are. So they have a 7.
Bridgewater's on 7. I'm not sure about Easton.
Okay, I'm not sure either.
They're in Block Middle School?
They're 7 to
Middle
12,
school.
right? I think
They
they're
are 7 to
similar
12.
to us. They have to have the same schedule just due to the fact of shared staff, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
there any questions? Okay, thank you. So moving on to new business, we have the fiscal year 27 school budget. If this is our opportunity to have more discussion, we could, in theory, vote on it tonight. I think my general, the vibe I'm getting, the consensus would be that we need a week to think about it and really consider. Are there any discussion points anyone wants to bring up?
And I've talked most of the time, but my only thing would be, I mean, we had the gentleman come up and talk about other towns doing staff cuts. I think we just need to be mindful that the voters of the town have kind of sent us a message that they want some of this spending curbed. So that's all my take is coming from, and I would recommend the other 4 members of the committee to do the same, is just really look at these numbers and think about what we're doing. But yes, I agree, we vote next week.
Yeah, and so I appreciate all of your questions, Mr. Waller. I think that it's always nice to have a fresh set of eyes and to go deep into, line by line. And I appreciate what Mr. Waller's saying about not supporting addition to, staff without the data. So looking at some data behind those positions, I think is important. So if you could provide.
I got some here, but I can put it all together. I
That'd
got
be great.
information on the additional nurse, the Howard School reading specialist, and some of our course numbers, so. And I reached out to people, our administrators, our current reading specialists, I reached out to our lead nurse to get information, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could share that with us, that will guide our discussion a little bit more next week.
The only other thing I wanted to bring up that, I know we didn't have our meeting last week because of the snow and everything going on. We had discussed in our budget meetings, I don't know if this is time now or later, about the prospect of increasing athletic fees, which, wouldn't be a huge change to the overall budget, but would certainly help with school
Give it all set,
competitions.
yeah.
Where everything continues to go up, we felt that it would be fair to propose a 5% increase to the athletic fees, which luckily makes a nice even number of going up from $300 to $315, which we didn't feel would be a huge hit to families, and then increase the maximum per family from $600 to $630. So I don't know if that's something we can vote on next week, if people want.
Yeah, I'm a proponent of it with data and looking at what I know historically, our athletic fees tend to be pretty reasonable, especially the cap for families and the number of sports that are included with that fee. So if we could look at those numbers as well, I think that would be good.
And just so everyone's aware, we're always very aware if people have financial difficulties, we are more than willing to waive that when we get some information, so. We don't like to charge the fees, but we're reasonable in terms of who, if people can't afford them.
And everything continues to go up.
And they're very reasonable compared to
Yeah.
surrounding towns. I don't know if you've seen what,
Yeah.
by far,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so
And
that's something to
Great
think
deal.
about.
And I do like, I've always been a proponent of one fee, because I feel it encourages people to maybe play more sports and be involved.
And
And
you already
I'm
paid.
afraid if they paid, per sport, kids or families might say, I don't want to pay for that second one. So we want kids, again, to be active, to be involved, be members of a team or a group or a club or things like that. It's important.
And some schools pay like a drop fee, but we don't do
Yeah.
Which I'm sure could be considered as well if we needed it.
Okay, anything else on the budget? Okay. Okay, CPAC update. The Westbridge,
Sorry, do we need to vote to have the meeting?
we already have the meeting on
Thank you.
the schedule, so we already voted to add that
Thank
to the
you.
calendar.
I couldn't remember.
Okay, the West Bridgewater Special Education Parent Advisory Council is dedicated to building inclusive schools and a supportive community for all students. We serve families of students with IEPs and 504 plans, and we welcome general education families as well. Through advocacy, guidance, educational programs, and community events, our goal is to ensure that every student has what they need to succeed. On the horizon, we're excited to celebrate neurodivergence with our annual Spirit Week during Autism Acceptance Month. Also in April, we will begin accepting nominations for our annual Grant of Gratitude, which will be awarded in May. Later that month, we'll host our annual graduation seat raffle, where winners will receive 4 prime seats for this year's graduation ceremony. Additional details about each of these events will be shared soon through district newsletters and our mailing list. As a reminder, our monthly CPAC meeting will be held on March 17th from 6 to 7 o'clock here in the Learning Commons. We welcome members of the WB school community to come and contribute to the discussion. To learn more about the WB CPAC, stay updated on events, or join our mailing list, please visit us on Facebook or email us anytime at WBCPAC, that's SEPAC, @gmail.com. Okay, next up we have report of subcommittees. We're in the home stretch here. We only have reports from the policy committee. So the first is just to open policies for review. So I move to open the following policies. DA, fiscal management goals, DB, annual budget, DBC, budget deadlines and schedules, DBD, budget planning, DBG, budget adoption procedures, DBJ, budget transfer authority, DD, grants, proposals, and special projects, DEC, federal funds supplement, not supplant policy, DGA, authorized signatures, DH, bonded employees and officers, DI, fiscal accounting and reporting, DIE, audits, DJ, purchasing, DJA, purchasing authority, DJE, procurement requirements, DK, payment procedures, and DKC, expense reimbursements. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, these are just on our schedule for review, for compliance, and to make sure that we are up to date with state guidelines. Any questions? No. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay, and then the policies that we have open, hold on just one moment here. Move to approve the following policies as written in our folder. Those are CA, administration goals, CB, school superintendent, CBD, superintendent's contract, CBI, evaluation of the superintendent, CCB, staff relations, CE, administrative councils, cabinets, and committee, CH, policy implementation, CHA/CHC, development and dissemination of procedures, CHCA, approval of handbooks and directives, CHD, administration and policy absence, CM, school district annual report, and JKAA, physical restraint of students. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so discussion on these items. The vast majority of them did not require any updates, and they also did not require any compliance checks. There were a few changes. So CB, school superintendent, was just something minor. DESI was incorrectly abbreviated in there, so that name was updated. Under CBI, evaluation of the superintendent, there was one line removed, but it was a redundant line, so there was no change to the content there. CHA and CHC, same thing, we removed a redundant line. And we also removed about the superintendent coding policies and including them in the SC policy index. So the superintendent does not code our policies. They all are already coded and follow the MIC guidelines, as we know. CHCA, approval of handbooks and directives. Per this policy, all handbooks, including the staff handbook, should be reviewed annually. So that was just a compliance check and making sure that we add the staff handbook to all the student handbooks when we approve them in the August-September meeting. So we'll add that to the agenda. CM, school district annual report, there were no changes, but as I previously stated, presentation to the school committee was outlined in this policy prior to going to the town. And then the final policy was JKAA, physical restraint of students. This one was opened following a directive from DESI in order to make procedures more accessible for families. The changes made to this were including a hyperlink to the procedures for district restraint procedures right there in the policy. While we had this open, though, we did look at some of the compliance items. This policy and the associated procedures need to be reviewed annually, so we will be adding that as well to the August and September agenda. Policy states that staff will be trained on this policy and procedures within the first month of every school year. Mr. Bodwell, you indicated that is happening. You use ArcsEd, a DESI-approved platform for training and staff, for training of staff to complete every year. And then finally, the policy states that restraints administered within the district must be reported to DESE. You indicated there have been 6 restraints to date this year. All were in compliance with procedures and reported to DESE in accordance with this policy. I know that was a lot of information. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. All in favor of approving those policies? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay. Are there any questions or recommendations by the committee for our next meeting? No, it was a long one tonight. Our next regular school committee meeting is March 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in the Middle Senior High School Learning Commons. Is there a motion to adjourn into executive session?
Move to adjourn into executive session.
All right, and just to clarify, that motion would be executive session for the purpose of collective bargaining with union personnel pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, and to not reconvene in open session. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, this is roll call vote, yeah? So this will be a roll call vote. Mrs. Myaskowski?
Robin Dragonini?
Yes.
Carol Lizotti?
Yes.
Jean Myers-Kowski? Yes. John Waller?
Yes.
Harry Morgan?
Yes.
So let's go over it again. Robin Dragonini? Yes. Carol Lizotti? Yes. Christine Myers-Kowski? Yes. John Waller? Yes. Harry Hus? Yes.
All right,
Yes.
so moved unanimously. Have a good night, everyone.